So let's jump into the video today and let's talk about the watch that was worn the most in 2025, RedBar Detroit Edition. Come join me. Up first, we're going to go with my good buddy David. And David, I won't give his last name. I won't give the last name to any of the guys in the group. But David does a heck amount of photography. And so the type of shots that he takes really highlights the watch in a way that you can't see it any better unless it's actually in the flesh. And so I love when David is posting on Facebook or other social media platforms to showcase some of his watches. A quick backstory, we had a watch that David recently acquired not too long ago, where when the watch came in, the hands were a little different. And everybody in the community called out like, hey, you got a one-on-one, but true to his uniqueness in his eye, he was like, no, it's incorrect, and I'm sending it back to get a different watch. So what I love so much about David's collection is you see the influence of color and kind of design, whether it be through the shapes, whether the creativity that the brand has done with the hands or the case or a variation of the dial. So the first one up is the Mito Multifort TV Big Date. And this watch comes in at about 40 millimeters. What I love so much about this watch is just that huge punch of that bright orange strap that comes with the watch. Now, this is kind of out of the house of ETA, if you will. So ETA makes the watch movement. It's an 80-hour power reserve. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that this watch actually comes in just shy of like $1,200 to $1,300 new, and you can kind of get a couple $100s off if you're willing to go pre-owned in the secondary market. There's a missed opportunity for great affordable watches, a brand that has some strong history in the watch community and things that they've done over the decades, and it's a great watch to go and discover, or a great brand, I would say, to go and discover. You know, a little bit of a watch snob, you can plug your ears. You know, to me, the Multifort TV Big Date, hey, if you can't afford that Patek Aquanaut, but you want a little bit of that shape design, a little bit of that that kind of style, a great alternative, and I can save you $30 or $40 or $50,000. All right, so that came in from David. I appreciate it, man. I can't wait to see what he has going into 2026. Next up is our good buddy James, and I'll say this. James is like a mystery man to me, in a sense of I never know what the heck is on his wrist. And the reason why is because, you know, when we talk about real watch collectors, they're not going to follow the hype. They're not going to be wearing what every single person that you look at on social media has. They are truly pulled by their desire, by their interest, by their flair, by their taste. And so with that, you get a chance to kind of ride that journey with them. And explore things that they have taken time to kind of research and bring forward. So it was no surprise that when James dropped his picture to me, and I was in my head going, you know, futuristic, alien themed, mysterious water world, third eye type of just crazy stuff. He didn't disappoint. And this is from a brand called Studio. I believe I'm saying it right. Sarpaneva. They produce some heavy hitter, really futuristic, crafted watches. And I'm talking about timepieces. I would honestly say you could argue halt horology or an extension of halt horology. You know, a lot of times we start talking about, you know, when we speak of halt horology, we talk about, you know, complications, you know, minute repeaters, sonneries and things like that. And, you know, you kind of go into the FP Journe worlds, and you kind of go into the upper echelons of Vacheron and Patek and things like that. But I would argue that, you know, these new watchmakers that are interpreting everything from the case design to the metal work to the actual execution of the time could be maybe an extension of halt horology. And I kind of put this kind of piece in this same part. It's a 34 jewel movement, has a 60-hour power reserve. What can I say? I think the creator Sarpaneva, I think he's just a madman. And this is a beautiful, beautiful watch. I mean, look at the dial and how intense you can see the different dial designs associated to this watch. I haven't seen this watch in the flesh. The last time I seen James, he had produced another amazing watch, a Jump Hour, from Fairs, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm hoping that the next meetup he brings this, because this punches above expectation. All right, that wraps up James and his most worn watch for this year. Next, we go into Steven. Steven has actually, Steven is the type of guy where I anticipate 3 watches a month from Steven. Steven loves watch collecting. He's a wealth of knowledge. He buys what he wants. He likes what he wants. He gets what he wants in that stand space. So for me, there was no surprise. I was kind of shocked, though, that Steven produced this one. And the reason why is because as of late, Steven has grabbed some other pieces. They've dove into Jacques Droz, and he's even acquired a recent piece by Grand Seiko, which was amazing. But at the end of the day, he didn't disappoint. See, Master Control Calendar. And what can I say? We always talk about Jaeger LeCoultre as the watchmaker's watchmaker. It's a brand that I think has had highlights over the last 2 decades that have really punched itself into that hype, if you will. And when I say hype, I don't mean in a sense of like it's not backed up by anything. I think historically it should be a part of the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity should be a 4-group type of thing when I think about JLC. And this doesn't disappoint. I mean, just look at the dial. The fact that this is a triple calendar, the beautiful execution where it looks like this could be a multi-layered dial where you can see the date kind of recessed a little bit. The fact that sunburst, and I mean, we talk about Vacheron's blue, and I could argue that JLC could definitely hit a home run when it comes to execution of kind of color in this place. Just a beautiful dress watch, depending on how you wanted to pair the strap, depending on how you wanted to wear something with this watch. This could be your sport watch. It's just a power-packed watch all around, and the movement, bears none as well. So, Steven, thank you for sharing this one, man. I can't wait to see what you do in 2026. I am willing to bet that you already have 2 or 3 pieces that you haven't shown us, and I'll be working on getting another meetup for us real soon. Next up, we've got Gary. And Gary just brings can I call it a classic? Listen, it's tried and true. It's a flex, but it's also one heck of a great watch, and that's this Rolex Daytona. I'm still learning how to accept that a rubber strap can account to a watch that costs tens of thousands of dollars. But hey, when it's Rolex, you can do these type of things, and it's respected. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. I think yellow gold has definitely hit a run in the last couple of years, and so it's great to kind of see yellow gold coming back, and just the fact of gold across a number of different watches coming back. The Daytona needs no introduction, and so Gary, I think you've got a winner here. Can't wait to see what this does in terms of price points over the years, and also how you'll choose to move forward with this watch. Will you let it patina a little bit, or do you kind of baby it and just kind of make sure it comes out every now and then? Now we move on to Richard. Again, I'm trying not to give you too much about these guys, but I'm telling you, if you ever came to a meetup and this whole group kind of came, you'd want to die and go to heaven, man, just because there's passion, there's history, there's all these little details. You find out what's the niche that made you go and buy that Daytona, made you go and buy that Mito. Why you're interested in this. So you just leave going like, man, it's deeper than that. So, I remember when Rich first raised his shirt and kind of said, hey, I decided to go get this Vacheron Constantine overseas. And I've seen Rich in pictures in suits. getting ready to jump on a plane, heading to work, at work, with his kid, jeans on. It doesn't matter. It's just the type of watch that works with everything. I will not in any way call this an everyday beater watch because Vacheron doesn't have beaters. But what I will say is that this watch is versatile to apply to any condition, no matter what it is. It's a great looking watch. I mean, when you look at the Maltese crosses that kind of outline the bracelet, what can I say? It's meant to be worn, and I'm glad to see it. I'll tell you this. Rich represents one of those guys that there's always a smile when I see him wearing this watch, like it's, and I don't know if this was, I know he did a little bit of trading up to get this watch, but I can't say it was a grail because I can't quote him on that, but I'll just say this, when you talk about a man and his watch, when you talk about somebody who's enjoying wearing a piece, I think of this kind of combination of this overseas and Rich. So thanks for sharing, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Happy New Year to you. All right, so we're going to spin it a little bit. And we're going to talk about myself. The watch I wore the most was the IWC Engineer. This was the one that comes with the power reserve on the front of the dial. IWC to me is one of those brands. It's a little bit, if you know, it's the brand that is not trying to flex directly, but it has reasons to flex. I would say that, and when I was thinking of what kind of watch would I purchase, within kind of the house of IWC, I knew I wanted something to stand out. I knew I wanted the ability to showcase the movement. And this has an execution case back. It has the Pelton winding system that has such a well-respected history when it comes to the way in which the watch will wind on itself. It's buttery smooth, the dial, the finishing within the dial. It's a big watch, it's pushing 44, 45, but the fact that it tapers and that it has this integrated bracelet, it just makes it suitable. I can just about 90% wear it with anything. There are some moments where a button shirt is just not gonna work, but overall, I love the watch. It winds so beautiful. It switched the date so beautiful. It's a great looking piece, and it's interesting because when I bought this watch, they hadn't released these 40 and kind of smaller versions of the Engineer over the last year or two. I can't remember exactly the window. I was interested in going into an integrated bracelet, and I just love the fact that this had a power reserve that was 7 days, and then as I researched, they said, hey, it's actually set to go beyond that, but we can kind of promote the fact that it can hold a 7-day power reserve. For me, that's huge. It's legible. It's a great looking watch. Also, case in point, I believe, and you can fact check me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I do believe that Gerald Genta did play a role in the design of the Engineer as well. So it is the one watch out of IWC for me. Now I just appreciate IWC from the background, but there's no more there's no more credit cards to swipe at IWC anymore. We actually have what I'm going to call a Sleeping Beauty. This is the Angelus Instrument Divatis in blue. I'm going to call this Sleeping Beauty. I was surprised to see this watch, and to be honest with you, it forced me to do just a little bit of research. John is bringing some quiet heat here. This is a mono pusher chronograph by Angelus, and just what an amazing mechanical wind watch that I have yet to really take a look at. I've heard of the brand kind of in passing, but I've never kind of paused to really do some research. And to my surprise, this is not your average Joe kind of a watch. You need to spend a pretty penny on it, but it's just a beautiful overall watch, and it's something that you've got to go a little bit further than just the surface when we start talking about the way that chronographs can be executed when we talk about mono pusher chronographs and just things that you just don't see that are not as common, where you can kind of go, hey, there's a little bit more going into this watch. I mean, if you look at the overall case execution of this watch, a great piece. I love the way that they applied the hour markers, and they're raised, they're applied, they're not kind of stamped, if you will, and just a beautiful, beautiful scale, those syringe hands. This is a watch that I want to know a heck of a lot more, and I hope that I get a chance to kind of see this actually in the flesh, because the pictures already make it something that's truly amazing. Why not showcase this movement? 22.11.05, just a beautiful overall caliber A5000. This is why I love meetups. This is why I love kind of sharing within the watch community. Hey, what are you wearing? You know, let's talk about what you bought, what drew your interest, you know, and you get to kind of discover something that you've never kind of taken a look at that may not just kind of cross through your feed on a day-to-day basis. So, John, thank you for sharing this piece. Again, wear it in good health. I do hope I can get a chance to actually get some wrist time and get some shots of this watch potentially in 2026. Okay, moving forward, we're going to go with Theo, who decided to show us a watch called the Second Hour Mandala, brand that once again I'm getting ready to kind of learn and kind of discover on my own. The fact that there's this almost a geo-shade kind of pattern in the center, and then it switches off to a totally different style. Now, to my research and my knowledge, it looks like this brand uses Japanese Miyota 9015 automatic movements, 24 jewels. Overall, very interesting watch. I think these watches are sub $1,000. If I'm not mistaken, and just a really cool multi-linked bracelet. So thank you for sharing this, Phil. Can't wait to see this one and some of the other items in your collection. Next up is Pedro, who's actually one of the founders of Detroit RedBar, showcasing the Rolex Oyster Perpetual in green. It's interesting, when we kind of first saw this watch, we were inquiring a little bit more on, you know, what drew Pedro to this watch. And, you know, he's had a number of pieces over the years since I've known him. I remember him having Daytonas and just some other pieces. And, you know, one of the things he called out was that this was going to be an heirloom piece. This was going to be passed down to the next generation at a certain point in time. And quite funny, I believe in one of the posts he said, I'm just wearing it and enjoying it right now. Interesting how this watch is subtle yet striking at the same time. And I love the fact that Pedro already went after, you know, associating this as something that will be passed down. As you began to kind of build memories around these items, they can become heirloom pieces that you can appreciate. Rolex always does it well, you know, whether it's simple, whether it's high end like the yellow golds that we saw earlier, or some of the pieces that we're going to see before we wrap up the video. You know, Rolex is just masters at execution. That green dial is so clean. It's a crisp watch. You can easily see, you know, Saturday mornings rocking that with jeans and a t-shirt, and then, you know, heading to work in the office with a sweater, you know, and a beautiful pair of slacks. It's just a great, versatile piece. So, Pedro, thank you for sharing that. Can't wait to see you in 2026 as well. Next up, we're going to my good buddy, Tony. You know, Tony, I used to joke and say Tony pretty much has a watch for every day of the year. And, you know, the last time I said that to him, he laughed, but he didn't say I was wrong. So, you know, we're still waiting to kind of get the actual count, but I think he's got more watches than there are days in a year, if I wouldn't be surprised. This was a beauty that he brought at the last meetup that we had in my area. And I'll just say the pictures don't do it justice. The punch of this yellow, both in the bezel and in the dial itself, are just phenomenal. It's a hefty watch, but a very well executed and proportionate watch. It kind of takes a nod back to the Doxas of old, if you will, kind of sharp edge case design that it has, and just a great overall bracelet for it. I really like this watch. It's just an alternative. It's an alternative piece if you don't want to necessarily go up to certain price points and you still want a well versatile, capable watch. I think people need to get a little bit more comfortable putting color into their watch collection, because it just adds something to it than just the traditional whites and black dials that you're used to seeing. So Tony, thank you for bringing this one in. He actually had this one on when we were at our meetup, so I'm not surprised this was one of the ones that he wore the most. And to wrap up this video, I reached out to a good buddy of mine that used to be my road buddy when it came to traveling to watch events in New York and watch events in Vegas. I don't think we ever made it to Florida. I think he went to Florida on his own. But this is RJ Financial, my good buddy RJ, and the watch he wore the most was the Rolex GMT Bruce Wayne. So this is the GMT that kind of has the black and then fade to that beautiful smoky gray. I had RJ over a couple months back. He came over to the house and he surprised me with this one because I actually didn't know that he had made the purchase. And the funny thing was, RJ is on a little bit of a health journey, and so because he's gotten leaner and more fit, he kind of said, Kurt, pieces are getting a little too big for my wrist, and I need to kind of move on. But clearly he didn't move down, he moved up, and this is a great piece. It just looks phenomenal on the wrist. I will say, of all the different GMT variations, as we talk about bezels, there is something about this combination of gray and black that just is a killer. If you ever get to know RJ, he's the kind of guy where he's cut and dry, he's straight to the point, and for his style, no other watch I think would be better suited for him. I'm glad he was able to get it. So RJ, thanks for wrapping us up and showcasing the watch that you wore the most in 2025. Wishing you all the best in 2026 as we wrap up the end of 2025. You guys have a good one. You take care.